That explosion changed everything. Not only did it crash their plane, but it also had a global impact. A lot of water in the area was drying up, and supplies started dwindling. See how these two pilots survive? If they survive.
I can't believe this is happening. One minute I was sitting next to my friend on a flight to Dubai, thinking about all the food I was going to eat and the places we'd explore, and the next minute our plane went down in the middle of nowhere. Now I'm sitting here in the dirt with my clothes torn, dust all over my face, and my friend trying to act like everything's fine. Fine. We're stranded. No Wi-Fi, no food, no clue where we even are. Of all the flights, of all the destinations, why did it have to be ours that crashed?
Bro, I swear you need to chill. Yeah? The plane crashed. DAWG. I get it's bad. But sitting here complaining about Wi-Fi and snacks isn't gonna fix anything. Look around. Man. We're alive. And that's already a win. Half the passengers are freaking out. And you over here acting like missing your fancy Dubai dinner is the end of the world. Chill. Bro. We'll figure it out. We got 2 legs. 2 arms. And I am not about to sit here waiting to die. DAWG. If anything, this is kinda like one of those survival games you always playing. So instead of whining, how about we get up and find some water before the sun cooks us alive? The flight to Dubai was supposed to be ordinary. Just a routine trip across the skies. I sat next to my friend, headphones in, dreaming of skyscrapers and golden deserts. People around us chatted softly, the clink of glasses and the rustle of magazines filling the cabin. The seatbelt light blinked off, and the world felt calm. But calm has a way of breaking. Out the window, I saw a sudden flash, brighter than anything I had ever witnessed. For a second, I thought it was lightning, but it wasn't storming. Then came the boom. A thunderclap so deep it shook my chest even through the insulated walls of the plane. The horizon split open, a mushroom cloud climbing into the sky like some terrible giant. Nuclear! It hit me before anyone even said the word. The shockwave followed, rattling the wings. Drinks spilled. Passengers screamed. Alarms blared. The pilots' voices cracked through the intercom, urgent and strained, shouting commands ICOULDNT process. The plane tilted sharply, the sky and earth trading places in a dizzy blur. My friend grabbed my arm, eyes wide, yelling, "Bro, hold on." The engines roared in protest, metal grinding like a wounded beast. We were caught in chaos. The explosion had torn the atmosphere apart, and our aircraft was nothing more than a leaf in a storm. People cried out prayers. Some clutched strangers. Others just froze. The cabin oxygen masks dropped, swaying like pendulums of doom. I pulled mine on with trembling hands, heart pounding like it wanted to rip free from my chest. The windows glowed orange, the heat from the blast reaching even this high. Then a terrible jolt threw us from our seats. My head slammed the side of the cabin, and stars filled my vision. The plane was falling, not gliding, not descending, but dropping like a stone. The nuclear fire below turned the ground into a nightmare. "We done." DAWG. My friend shouted, but still tried to hold me steady. The crew yelled to stay calm, but their voices cracked with the same fear. My mind raced. Why here? Why now? Why us? The world outside spun violently. Clouds tearing past. The wings snapped under pressure. Debris flying off into the wind. Luggage rained from overhead compartments, striking seats and passengers. I wanted to scream, to beg, to demand answers from the sky itself. But my throat was locked. The pressure built until the only sound left was the shriek of metal tearing apart. Impact. The earth came up fast. Faster than thought itself. The crash was not a single sound, but 1,000 ripping, crushing, burning symphony that stole all air from my lungs. Darkness wrapped around me like a blanket, heavy and absolute. For a moment, I thought that was the end. I know you want to hear what happened after the crash. So listen carefully. When I opened my eyes, the world was fire and dust. The wreckage of the plane smoked around me. Metal bent into cruel shapes. Seats half buried in dirt. My body hurt like it had been slammed by 100 fists. But I was breathing. My friend coughed beside me. Dazed but alive. That alone felt like a miracle. Yet a miracle in a wasteland is still a curse. The nuclear fire on the horizon burned like a second sun. A reminder that this wasn't some random accident. The sky was sick, painted in orange and black. The air carried the taste of ash, bitter and heavy. Every breath felt like swallowing smoke. I stumbled to my feet, legs shaking, calling out to see if anyone else survived. A few voices answered weakly, but most of the wreckage was silent. My friend grabbed my arm, saying, "Bro, chill. We'll figure this out." Easy for him to say. My hands trembled as I stared at the endless nothing stretching out in every direction. No city lights, no roads, no towers, just flat land and the glow of destruction far away. We gathered what we could. Half-burned water bottles, a few scraps of food, one working flashlight, and a bent piece of metal that I called a weapon. The plane's emergency radio was fried, probably cooked by the blast. My stomach twisted as I realized nobody was coming. Who would even dare fly into a sky poisoned by fallout? I wanted to scream at the world, but my throat was too dry. Instead, I complained about the heat, the thirst, the fact that my shoes were ruined. My friend only laughed and said, "Dawg, stop whining. At least we ain't dead." The hours crawled by. Smoke turned the sun into a dim blur. We stumbled away from the crash, searching for water. My lips cracked. My skin burned. My thoughts tangled. At one point, I swore I saw shapes moving in the haze, other survivors maybe, or shadows born from exhaustion. My friend kept pushing me forward, telling me we had to keep walking. And so we did, step after step, dragging ourselves through dust and silence. By nightfall, the cold cut deeper than the heat. The desert didn't care that a plane had fallen from the sky. It just kept breathing its dry breath, cruel and endless. We huddled under torn seat fabric, listening to the wind howl through the wreckage. I whispered to myself that tomorrow we'd find something, anything. But deep down, I knew the nightmare had only just begun. The city looked like a skeleton of its former self, buildings hollowed out and glass shattered everywhere. As we approached, my friend kept grinning like this was some kind of game. "Bro, check it out. Free real estate." I wanted to punch him, but honestly, I was too busy trying to breathe through the dust that made my throat burn. Every step was crunching rubble and broken glass. Every shadow looked like it could collapse on us. The nuclear blast had done more than tear up the plane, it had shredded this entire city. We moved slowly, checking corners, prying open doors, scavenging anything useful. Half-burned food cans, dusty water bottles, even a backpack with a cracked flashlight inside. I complained about the smell, the dust, the fact that the stairs in one building threatened to give out with every step. My friend laughed, muttering, "Dawg, chill. It's all part of the adventure. If someone filmed this, I'd look like an idiot whining while debris threatened to crush me." But surviving was serious, and I wasn't about to act like it was a vacation. The deeper we went, the quieter it became. Windows blown out, walls cracked, and floors missing entirely. It was a death trap disguised as shelter. I found a half-collapsed office and tried to climb to the second floor. My friend shouted, "Bro, chill. Don't fall." But I was already halfway up, fingers scraping plaster and rusted nails. One wrong move, and gravity would have made me regret every complaint I'd ever said. We found a stash of bottled water in a broken convenience store. Relief hit like cold rain. Finally, I gasped, gulping down the first few sips. My friend just shrugged. Hands full of chocolate bars he scavenged. "Bro, see, chill. It's all worth it." I rolled my eyes. Worth it. Worth it if we survive the night. As evening approached, the shadows stretched like giant fingers. The city was silent except for the occasional gust rattling debris. We found a rooftop with some intact railing and decided to make camp. From up there, I could see the full scale of the destruction, the streets empty, the distant glow of fallout still painting the horizon, and the skeletal remains of cars and buildings. My friend sprawled next to me, looking at the ruined skyline like it was art. "DAWG. We're kings of the city now," he said. I groaned. Kings in a city that could collapse on our heads at any second. But I let myself relax for a moment. Telling you this because survival is about moments like this. Small victories. Even if you race sweating, coughing, and complaining the entire time. We weren't safe yet. But we had water, food, and a high vantage point. Tomorrow, we'd explore further. Try to find more survivors or at least more supplies. For now, we rested. I complained a little more. My friend laughed a little more. And the city waited silently, broken but still standing. And me. I kept thinking, if anyone else is out there, they'd better hope we're not as grumpy as I am. I thought we were alone in this ruined city. But walking past a collapsed shopping center, I heard voices. Real voices. My friend froze beside me, whispering, "Bro, chill. We're not alone." Easy to say, I thought, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. We crept closer, sticking to the shadows. 3 figures were huddled around a small fire, their faces grimy and eyes wary. I could almost hear my own heartbeat in the silence between us. "Hello," my friend called softly, raising his hands. "We come in peace." "DAWG," I groaned, ready to smack him. That was not the time for jokes. One of the figures stood, a tall guy with a makeshift spear. His eyes narrowed, scanning us like we were prey. "Who are you?" he demanded. I stepped forward, hands open. "We survived the crash," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We were just looking for supplies. Water, shelter." They exchanged glances, muttering among themselves. One of them, a woman, pointed at my friend and said something I didn't catch. He waved his hands, grinning nervously. "Bro, chill. We're friendly." I gave him the death glare. Friendly. In a nuclear wasteland, nobody was friendly until proven otherwise. Finally, the tall guy nodded slowly. "Fine. Sit. Don't make a move until we say so." Relief and tension tangled inside me like a knot. We sat, careful not to touch anything. They offered us some stale bread and water. I complained. Of course, it's barely enough to survive. "DAWG." My friend just laughed and whispered, "Bro, chill. At least it's food." I wanted to scream, but my throat was too dry. As we ate, they told their story. They survived the initial blast, scavenged supplies, and avoided pockets of fallout. Some had lost family. Some had been wandering alone. I nodded, feeling the weight of luck and misery collide in my chest. My friend cracked a few jokes about how dramatic I was being, and I glared. But even I couldn't help smiling a little. Humanity was stubborn, and so was friendship. Night fell, and the fire flickered across the group's faces. Trust was fragile here. One wrong word or movement could turn them against us or worse. I realized that not everyone we met would be kind. Not everyone we saw would share supplies or shelter, but right now, we had a tenuous alliance. A fragile connection that might mean survival. Before sleep, I whispered to you that the world out there was unforgiving, and human nature could be even worse. Yet, even in the ruins, with radiation clouds and broken cities, people kept moving, kept surviving, kept laughing a little despite everything. My friend muttered, "DAWG. We got this," and I let him have his moment, because for now, that hope small, shaky, and fragile was enough to keep walking, to keep fighting, to keep surviving. The night was colder than I expected. Even after the fire had died down, we woke to a sky that looked sick in orange haze hanging thick over the city ruins. My friend stretched, groaned, and muttered, "Bro, I didn't sign up for this, yeah." Neither did I. But surviving was the only option. We packed what we could carry and moved cautiously, eyes scanning for danger. The survivors we met yesterday had gone ahead, leaving us to navigate the streets alone. Radiation pockets weren't just a rumor, they were real. I could feel my skin prickling as we passed through the first one. The air tasting metallic and heavy. "DAWG. Chill," my friend said, waving his hands like he could shoo it away. Chill. My throat burned. My stomach turned. I gritted my teeth, knowing we couldn't stop. Couldn't slow down. Every step was a risk. Then we heard it, a low, guttural growl echoing through the streets. I froze. My friend whispered, "Bro, you hearing that?" I nodded. Heart hammering. Out of the shadow of a collapsed building, it emerged. A mutated dog. Its eyes glowing faintly red. Fur patchy and scarred. Its teeth like jagged metal. It snarled and lunged. I swung my makeshift weapon, a twisted piece of metal from the crash, while my friend screamed, "DAWG. Move." I barely dodged, and the creature snapped at my arm, leaving a shallow cut. We ran, dodging through debris and radiation pockets. The creature in hot pursuit. Another figure appeared, smaller, faster, probably another mutated animal drawn to the chaos. I kept shouting warnings to my friend, who somehow managed to trip over a pile of rubble while yelling, "Bro, chill." I grabbed his arm, pulling him up, swearing under my breath. The creatures circled, but eventually, hunger or some instinct drove them back. We barely had time to catch our breath. By the afternoon, exhaustion set in. We found a burned-out car and used it as temporary shelter, huddling inside while I inspected my wound. My friend laughed nervously. "Bro, you look ridiculous. Bleeding like that," I growled at him. But the truth was, the humor kept me alive. Complaining, whining, and mocking each other was survival. 2. The sky darkened again. The radiation haze thickening. We had to move, find safer ground, or risk dying from exposure or worse. Another encounter with mutated beasts. I whispered to you that every step was a gamble. The city wasn't just dangerous because of debris or empty streets, it had changed, mutated, and threatened life itself. Yet, even with aching muscles, a throbbing wound, and the fear of being hunted, we had no choice but to keep going, because that's what survival is. Moving forward, complaining loudly, laughing nervously, and hoping that the next step doesn't kill you. My friend muttered, "DAWG. We got this," and I rolled my eyes, but deep down, I hoped he was right. The wasteland had teeth, but so did we. The sky was a sick orange, but farther on the horizon, I thought I saw a flicker of something different, lighter, almost like smoke or a glimmer of sunlight breaking through the haze. My friend squinted, shading his eyes, muttering, "Bro, is that?" I nodded, heart hammering. Civilization. Maybe. It was the first real sign of hope we'd seen since the crash. We moved cautiously, weaving through rubble and abandoned streets. My friend constantly whispering jokes to keep me from panicking. DAWG. If those things show up again, I am gonna ride you like a dragon, I grumbled. Bro, chill. I am not your dragon, but honestly, the humor was helping me keep my sanity, even with every nerve screaming from exhaustion, hunger, and radiation. We kept moving. The closer we got, the more signs we saw. Overturned cars that hadn't been touched, distant smoke rising from chimneys, footprints in ash that weren't ours. Someone else had survived. Not long ago, I would have panicked. But after weeks in this wasteland, I learned to read these signs. Every clue mattered. By nightfall, we reached the edge of what had once been a residential area. The buildings were intact enough to hide in. And we finally found a small pool of water that hadn't turned radioactive. Relief washed over me. I knelt, drinking carefully. My friend watching, shaking his head. Bro, you ray disgusting, I laughed despite everything. Small victories, I reminded myself. While we rested, I whispered to you that survival wasn't about heroics, it was about endurance. Each step, each scrounged sip of water, every crude meal, was a win. My friend, ever the idiot optimist, lay beside me, joking about how we'd become kings of the wasteland. I glared at him but smiled. Even in a ruined world, laughter was a weapon. We talked quietly about what we'd do next. The safe zone, if it existed, would have supplies. Maybe even people we could trust or at least survive alongside. The thought of other survivors was both exciting and terrifying. Trust could get you killed out here. And I knew it, but for the first time in weeks, hope felt real. A distant glow, footprints, a faint smell of smoke, all signs that humanity, however stubborn, persisted. I looked at my friend and shook my head. DAWG. We made it this far, but the hard part isn't over, he grinned. Exhausted, covered in ash and dust. Bro, chill. We'll figure it out, and maybe he was right. We had survived plane crashes, nuclear fallout, radiation, mutated creatures, and an empty city full of danger. The wasteland had teeth, but we had each other. So we moved forward, careful, tired, but alive. And I whispered to you, if you ray listening, that even when everything feels broken, there's a horizon, a glimmer of hope, a reason to keep walking. We just had to reach it. We reached it just as the sun began to rise, a settlement tucked behind crumbling walls, smoke curling from chimneys, and the faint sound of voices carrying through the air. My friend gasped. Bro, it's real, I nodded, heart pounding. After everything, the crash, the nuclear blast, the wasteland, the mutated creatures, we were finally seeing signs of organized life, civilization, maybe even safety. We approached cautiously. A figure stepped forward from the gate, rifle slung over his shoulder but not raised. His eyes scanned us, taking in our dust-covered clothes, our scraped faces, and the small pack of supplies we scavenged. Who are you? He called. I swallowed, voice shaky. We survived the crash. We need shelter, water, food. My friend raised a hand, grinning like an idiot. DAWG. Chill. We ray friendly. I shot him a look, but the man only studied us a moment longer. Then he nodded and motioned for us to follow. Inside, the settlement was small but thriving. People moved efficiently, tending gardens, repairing structures, and keeping watch. I whispered to my friend, bro, it's like a whole new world. He laughed softly. DAWG. We made it. Man, I allowed myself a small smile, relief washing over me. The fear, the pain, the endless walking, it wasn't over. But we had found a foothold in this shattered world. The people welcomed us cautiously. They offered water, proper food, and blankets. I could finally clean myself, though the dust still lingered in every pore. As I drank the water, my friend leaned back, sighing. Bro, I am telling you, this is the life. I rolled my eyes but laughed. Even in the worst world imaginable, his humor was contagious. That night, I watched the settlement from a small hill outside the walls. Fires flickered, laughter and conversation carried in the wind. And I thought about how far we'd come, from the plane crash to the nuclear wasteland, through mutated creatures and empty streets. We had survived every step. I whispered to you, the person listening, that hope isn't about everything being perfect. It's about finding a reason to keep going. Even when the world tries to break you. I thought about my friend beside me, still complaining lightly about the food, still joking despite everything. He reminded me that survival isn't just about endurance, it's about making small moments that keep you human. And as I sat there, watching the settlement glow in the twilight, I realized we had survived not because we were strong, or lucky, or clever, but because we refused to give up. Tomorrow we would walk into the settlement, meet more survivors, and start rebuilding in whatever way we could. But for tonight, I let myself rest. I whispered to you again. No matter how broken the world is, you can find a place to stand, a reason to fight, and a way to survive. And as long as we have each other, there is hope. Real hope.
I can't even begin to describe how ridiculous this is. 1 second we're on a plane, next second we're in the middle of nowhere, ash raining down like some dystopian snowstorm. My clothes are ruined, my shoes are shredded, and my friend keeps grinning like this is fun. Fun. Bro, my head hurts, my back hurts, and I can't feel my legs properly. And the smoke. Don't get me started on the smoke. It tastes like burnt metal and regret. Every step I take, dust gets in my mouth, my nose, my eyes. I swear I've ingested half the plane already. And don't even ask about water. Spoiled, lukewarm puddles, maybe radioactive. I wanted a flight to Dubai, not a nightmare survival boot camp. Bro, let me tell you, walking through this wasteland is the worst. My friend keeps saying, dog, chill. It's an adventure. Adventure. My feet are bleeding, my stomach is growling, and the sun is literally trying to roast us alive. The wind is blowing dust into every crevice of my body, and I can't even tell if I'm hallucinating, or if that shadow over there is a mutated dog ready to eat us. I stubbed my toe on a rock, screamed, and my friend laughed. I'm pretty sure the only thing keeping me alive is my endless complaining, and even that feels like it's failing. I wanted Dubai beaches, bro, not hell on earth with mutated creatures for neighbors. Now, let's talk about the city. Abandoned, crumbling, dusty, and apparently designed to make me question every life choice I've ever made. Every building I try to enter threatens to collapse. My friend finds chocolate bars and water like it's a treasure hunt, while I'm busy tripping over debris and arguing with every piece of rubble in my path. Bro, chill. He keeps saying, I can't chill. I'm bleeding. My stomach hurts, and I probably inhaled more asbestos than oxygen. And the wind, don't get me started on the wind. It smells like garbage, fire, and despair all mixed together. Honestly, surviving should come with a spa day, a hot shower, and maybe some snacks. Is that too much to ask? Bro, the night is the absolute worst. The cold cuts through me like knives, and my friend is snoring like a bear in the next room, or, well, in the remains of the plane. Every little sound makes me jump. Is that a rat? A ghost? Or my imagination torturing me because the world is cruel? I can't sleep. I can't move. I'm stuck in dust, metal, and despair. And the stars. The stars look pretty, I guess, if you ignore the fact that we're probably going to die before sunrise. Seriously, survival should come with pillows, blankets, and maybe some hot chocolate. Why do I even have to be alive to experience this? My legs ache, my back screams, and my throat burns from dust. Bro, I didn't sign up for this. Can someone invent a spa in the apocalypse? Because right now, I'd pay $1 million for comfort. Survival is exhausting, and I'm complaining, obviously. Water, or, should I say, disappointment in liquid form. Every puddle looks like it could either kill me, or make me hallucinate for a week. My friend gulps it down like it's fine. Dog, chill. It's just water, he says. Chill. Bro, it tastes like metal, mud, and sadness mixed together. I'm not asking for luxury. I just want something that doesn't make me question every life choice. And don't get me started on rationing. Half a sip at a time. Really? Who planned this survival protocol? A sadistic toddler. My stomach rumbles like it's filing a formal complaint. Every drop feels like punishment. I imagined rivers, sparkling and clean. But no, just ash, dust, and despair in liquid form. Bro, why is surviving so complicated? My throat is dry, my hands shake, and I want a normal glass of water. Survival should come with hydration, snacks, and a couch. Is that too much to ask? Okay, so there's a mutated dog, or maybe 5, running at us, growling, slobbering, and ready to eat everything I own, including me. My friend is yelling, bro, chill. It's fine, fine. I barely have time to breathe, let alone chill. I swung my makeshift weapon and tripped, of course, because my coordination decided to retire mid-apocalypse. Every shadow looks like a threat. Every sound makes my heart pound. Survival tip, always carry 3 extra arms because 2 clearly aren't enough to fight mutated beasts. My stomach twists, adrenaline screaming through my body. I want to scream, curse, and cry all at once. The creatures circle, snarling and snapping, and my friend laughs nervously, waving his hands like it's all okay. Bro, chill. I don't think he understands the word danger. If we die here, it's not heroic. It's ridiculously preventable. I hate this. Survival sucks.
No way this guy is mad because he says we're a drain on his resources.
I know magic shadows.
I hate you.
He's so dumb.
And that bald spot. So listen, fool, we're gonna stay here whether you like it or not. We're people to you know.
Yeah, and we have swords anyway. 2 against 1.
So what's it gonna be?